Hi, I'm Tom Selders with TS Fitness Trainer. I'm here to motivate you to live a more active and healthy lifestyle by providing you tips on diet and exercise. I look forward to our time together. Our guest today is Jordan Frank. He is a graduate of Avon Lake High School and a recent graduate of the University of Indiana.
I just graduated with a degree in master's in kinesiology with emphasis in athletic training. Well, with creatine supplementation, as you said, it has been, there's been a lot of controversy associated with it. And again, before I go into any spiel, I'm not a physician, I'm not a scientist or anything. Any information that I'm going to provide to you has just been done by my own research and by my own sources that use any clinical evidence that is available at the time. So anything that I'm going to say is going to be based off of 100% evidence that's been proven or not proven at this point. And also my associated opinion with things too. So before anyone takes anything, make sure to always consult your physician. So first we'll start with kind of an anatomy background that essentially everything you do requires ATP. And ATP is the most basic form of energy that the body needs for every type of energy and everything going on with the body. So whether we are just lifting a finger, if we're lifting any weights or anything, even from our cells going and destroying bacteria, whatever the case is, they need ATP to continue on with their normal routine. Now, what we start off with is ADP. And ADP needs an extra phosphate to complete the cycle, and then we can use that energy. So where creatine falls into place, creatine is nothing more than an amino acid. And you get it from beef is one of the primary sources. The only issue is typically you get around 2 to 3 grams depending on how much beef is consumed. It's also from another source as well. It's just beef is one of the major sources. So when we consume that when we consume that beef, it's broken down to amino acids. That amino acids broken down further. We can the body uptakes that creatine, and we essentially are adding it into our ADP cycle, which completing the cycle, giving us ATP and so forth. That is just a very basic kind of explanation of what goes on in the body. There's much more that goes on, but that's pretty much the quick and dirty of it. So the proposed effect is that by taking creatine, we can restore our ADP/ATP cycle faster to allow for faster movements, stronger movements, and so forth. So a lot of bodybuilders, a lot of athletes, a lot of Olympic weightlifters, and so forth will supplement with creatine because of the effects of increasing that ATP cycle over and over again, faster and faster. So that's one of the biggest things to debunk is creatine is not necessarily some supplement that's been created by a number of scientists. We get creatine naturally. We just don't get it in as heavy doses as we could by supplementing with it.
And it's not a type of steroid.
Right. It is not a steroid. 100%. I would never say it's a steroid. In any research that you want to look up will say it's not a steroid. It is truly amino acids, and amino acids are the building blocks of protein. So there is any parent or any person at all should not be worried they're not going to be taking any steroids or anything like that. So with this creatine, these ATP and the storage, our creatine phosphate system is our fastest system in the body. We have creatine phosphate, we have glycolysis, we have a number of systems that are used depending on what type of activity we're doing. So if you and I were just to do any exercise down here, it would take probably around 8 to 15 seconds depending on how many number of reps we were doing. That time range is the exact range is used for the creatine system, or I should say the creatine phosphate system / ATP system. And in books you'll see 5 to 15 seconds, but it can vary in there. So we do our exercise for 5 to 15 seconds and we take a break. During that break time, those phosphate storages are getting replenished over and over again so that we can go ahead and do our next movement as efficiently as possible So again, as to kind of, I went a little bit forward here and I'll kind of backtrack that we're doing our exercise, we need to get replenished. Well, by supplementing with creatine, the thought is we can go ahead and replenish faster so that we can do more exercise, we can go ahead and exercise more efficiently, and we can be stronger with our lifts. To date, that is the proposed theory, and I'd be happy to say I do take creatine. I take 5 milligrams before workout, 5 milligrams after a workout. I've had no issues at all with it in terms of no GI issues. I haven't had any problems sleeping, anything like that. No one should be worried about that. Again, you always consult your physician about it, but for me personally, I've had zero issues with it. I did take it when I was in high school, and I did experience some GI discomfort with it. And I think that's a major thing is all these studies are done on 18 years and older, anyone who's older than 18, because you just never know with a kid taking it because everyone's developing differently. So I would be a huge advocate for it for anyone over 18 years old. And if I were to talk to any parents about it in my job, I'd be happy to tell them I take it, but I'm over 18 and I have no issues with it. So I kind of talked about the anatomy there a little bit, and I kind of talked about the proposed effects, and to kind of go over some of the research that's associated with it. A lot of research has looked at 1 RM, so 1 rep max, bench press, squat, some speed, some agility, a number of tasks that fall within that 5 to 15 second window. Though it has been, some say no, some say yes, the overwhelming research has shown that it is effective at increasing back squat, bench press, exercises that fall within that range window. So it's fair to say at this point that by supplementing with creatine, you could have stronger workouts, you could have quote-unquote better workouts because you're stronger at your workouts. Your endurance has been increased a little bit by taking this. What they've also seen is creatine does not help aerobic workouts, so no long-distance runners or bikers should expect to necessarily get benefits from it because, again, we're focusing on just the short time frame cycle, and that's it. I know one of the major worries is that creatine, it causes dehydration, and again, from the research that I've done a small clinical paper on it. It was nothing big, but again, I went through a ton of research. No studies have found that it's promoted dehydration. In fact, it's actually promoted keeping the athlete hydrated. And they did this using long-distance athletes, and I should say cyclists. They actually found that the cyclists that took creatine had a better thermoregulation, aka they were able to regulate their core body temperature better than those who didn't take it. So again, it didn't make them faster, it didn't give them better results, but what it did is it regulated their body better so that they could handle the heat and they could also handle the bike ride themselves, and it did not cause dehydration at all. Again, this was from individuals who were 18 years and older, so I can't say the same for kids, and again, I would never recommend it for kids. Even if parents were all about it, I would never say that they should take it at this point. Some of the most upcoming and really interesting research is that creatine monohydrate has been shown to increase bone density. And that's huge for everybody, but that being said, especially older individuals, bone density is one of a major issue for elderly individuals, just because obviously if they fall or whatever the case is, we can have fractures and so forth because of the lack of bone density. Well, creatine has been shown to increase bone density, but that being said, I can't necessarily say, I can't be as confident about it as I am with the strength results. That research is still developing, there still needs to be more clinical studies with it. Some of the other benefits has been fighting degenerative diseases such as MS, and again, that's a very small window, but it has been shown to help with MS and handling the symptoms with that, just by supplementing 5 to 10 milligrams a day. In terms of the supplementation part, there's a lot of different ways people do it. There's typically something called a loading phase. So for the first 4 to 5 days, you'll take 20 milligrams of creatine, and you could break it up, 4 times a day with 5 milligrams each. Typically, if you were to buy it, it'll have a little scoop in there, and it'll say, 1 scoop is equivalent to 5 milligrams. So you'll have 4 to 5 days of loading, and then from there on, you only need about 5 to 10 milligrams per day. And the one thing is, if you are consistently taking it, it's never a bad idea to kind of cycle off of it for a couple days to a week. just because eventually you will get to a point where you've reached your stored levels, and even though you're taking it, you're not necessarily getting anything more just because you've been maxed out. So again, that's what I do personally. It may differ from person to person and from what anyone else says. But overall, I find creatine to be a very safe. It is the most researched supplement ever at this point. And maybe caffeine would beat it at this point. But at this point, creatine is the most heavily researched. It is extremely safe from what's been found. And again, I would recommend it. I should not recommend it for anyone under 18. And as always, consulting your physician before you start taking it for any uses.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, very interesting.
Yeah.
Since we're in the supplement discussion here,
Okay.
whey protein is becoming very popular. What's your opinion on that?
Sure. With whey protein, and with any of the proteins, the issue is, I think, the proteins and supplements in general are not regulated by the FDA. They don't have any formal regulation. Now, if you look on the bottle, some will say that they are purified, they are this and that. Well, those are from the companies themselves, or they're from another type of regulatory company, but is not regulated by the FDA, how all the food is and so forth. So I think there are a number of safe proteins. I take protein as a supplement. Then again, you can get enough protein in from your normal daily if you want to. Just depends on what your goals are. But I take whey protein. I've never had any issues with it. If you are going to take it, to truly maximize its results, I would recommend taking it before a workout. And some people can handle food better before, like a half an hour, an hour before. You got to figure out what works best for you. I would take it an hour before, just because once you start working out, blood flow is going to get pulled away from your stomach region to go to your muscles that are going to be working. And that's when people get an upset stomach, and because the blood flow has left that area to go to the working muscles at that point. And if you're trying to digest food and work out at the same time, it typically doesn't end well because you get an upset stomach. But with whey protein, I could take it before or after the workout, within a 30 minute to an hour window. That's been shown to be the best time frame to supplement with whey protein. And again, each protein is a little bit different. I would do lots of research to see what has been the best reviewed, if it has been compared to any other type of proteins, and if it does have any type of regulation, if it has been purified or whatever, because there's so many different types of it, and I'm not even foolproof, and I don't even understand all these different types they are. I just stick to what I have because I thought it worked, and I take whey protein.
Well, that's today's show. I just wanted to thank Jordan again for stopping by.
Absolutely.
And hope you enjoyed all the information he supplied to us. See you next month. I look forward to sharing more information with you in future episodes. Remember, keep moving.